Welcome to Timberborn and the settlement of the Steeltide. My name is Zedek, and we are playing on the Terraces map on hard mode, where I've been building all sorts of crazy things. Unfortunately, I've built so many crazy things that this file loads very slowly at this point, so we're probably getting close to the end of this playthrough. Before I do though, one of the things I've wanted to do is turn as much of this map green, and that's what we're going to start doing today. Earlier this week, update 7 for Timberborn just dropped. I have updated this save file, so we have all sorts of new building options to help us in our job. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with a bird's eye view of the land and figure out what we can start turning green. So you can see here that most of the colony is kind of in this segment here. And I've got parts that I started to turn green but haven't been developed. I think a lot of this is fair game to be planted with trees at the very least and potentially farmland. I'm not sure if I'm going to grow much of the beaver population any higher than it already is, just because the game is so slow, but I think we could make, a big dent in just making it look better than just a barren wasteland. We've got lots of options to pick from to start with. I think I'm going to target this area up northwest. You can see we've got that nice mesa there, which does have a hidden water source, and it is connected by a sealed pipe with our massive water tower over here. So it feeds during the wet season and then also gets topped off during the dry season. And for this area, I think I'm going to take advantage of the new feature in Update 7, which is 3D terrain. Previously, in the earlier versions of Timberborn, you could never build dirt on top of other structures, which is why everything here is sealed with impermeable floors, because I've got rivers underneath. But you see, in the new version, on a solid structure, I'm now able to build dirt, which can be irrigated. So I think all of this here, instead of this having this kind of blighted steel plate, I'm going to tear it out and replace it with dirt so that you can't even tell that there's a river under here. And to that end, I think the first thing I should probably do is close off this pipe. That way when I tear off the top, it's not going to start just flooding out. And with it unpressurized, we're going to start tearing it all down, which apparently it's more pressurized than I thought, because even sealed off, water is just pouring out. We have a bad tide coming for a little bit, so I don't want to mess with too much over here. But at least for this section that is relegated to good water, I should be safe to tear it all out. And in here, I'm going to run a couple of things. So first off, you do see that I've got the start of power there. I'm going to continue that power line and make sure that we have power over on that other side of the district. It's such a long walk all the way down that run. I'm going to try one of the new buildings, and that is the tubeway. So if you're not familiar with the tubeway, what it is a fast travel option. And so beavers can enter this tubeway in special entry buildings and exit in special buildings. Otherwise, it works like a path, but there is a 300% movement speed bonus. And the other thing I have noticed in testing is that tubeways are able to pass through impermeable floors, just like pipes can. So you can put a two-way pipe within a pipe without that pipe leaking. So we're going to run platforms all the way down there. Then I think we're going to start running dirt. And so the idea is, I think I'm going to make the top of this planted with trees or something. So it's like a dirt causeway. I really wish some of this 3D terrain had been added earlier. I would have approached building a lot of these buildings way different if I had this option to put dirt on top of things. And I'm basically going to do the exact same thing through all of this area. And underground, this really feels like I'm just running utility lines. So I've got the power shaft coming through here and the beaver tubeway, plus pressurized water. And everything is going to be sealed up with dirt. Now this part I'll probably have to come and fix later, but I don't want to mess with it just because the bad tide is about to begin. The other area that I'm not going to mess with, though I probably should later, is I do need access to water down here. This might be a good area to tap into that, but I don't want to mess with it just yet until maybe, say, into the dry season. So I'm going to get work crews over here to work on this. And, this is in our northern district. I don't think we've got really many workers over here. Since we built this dam, I decommissioned a lot of our builders, so I'll just get some of those resumed. Maybe we can get that two-way station installed here, and then over on the other side here. That might speed up construction. Though, I just realized I paved over my access point over here. I have to guess where it is. Okay, here. We'll make sure not to cover those two up. Now, with those two coming up, I think I actually do have to seal them off before they get to the surface. So I think right here, they probably need impermeable floors. But I think that impermeable floor is going to block the water from leaking from both of those. There's the start of our bad tide, but that's okay. Everything is sealed off. I think to help with construction efforts up here, I'm going to cart some stuff in. I think that this would be a primary to cart in some dirt and probably metal blocks during construction. As well as, I think for this next stage, we could use some extract and TNT. It's going to take them a little bit to build that, so we'll get the crews going there. Now, right now, this entire corner, I think I could probably make it its own district at some point. Just kind of self-contained with bots shipping things in and out. But for right now, it is kind of split in two. You can see this northern part of the mesa is owned by the northern district, and our main district owns this area. So I'm going to get a separate work crew down here working. A couple things I'd like to do. I think we can sculpt some of this out to make it easier to make green. I'm going to get rid of this entire little lip here, so it's a little bit more flat. That'll make it easier to work with. And just like the other area, because we're going to be doing a lot of terraforming here, let's start bringing in, I think, some dirt and TNT. Now, I am definitely noticing this game get even slower after this update. I think the 3D dirt, as much as I love it, and I'm really looking forward to it, it does take another performance toll on the game. Look at all our beavers coming over to stockpile this stuff. I love it when you have a large supply of builders. It makes this construction so much easier. Because when you have a massive build force, they can just crank out construction like this. Now that 3D terrain, I think it really opens up a ton of options for here. So I think for this corner, I'm going to try to make an underground tunnel filled with water that I'm then going to seal off from the top. I figure in this episode, I'm just going to experiment to see what I can manage to pull off now that I've got 3D dirt. I think it's going to add a whole new way of playing the game that is going to take a little bit of time to feel out. And, you know, just like the upper layers, I think I can get away with just running some platforms here all the way across and then putting a layer on dirt on top. I think it would look seamless. You wouldn't even be able to tell I'm carting water around here. Let me get that filled in, and then I'm going to TNT this last segment. This is going to be my test bed. If this works okay, I'm going to start trying this in other parts of the map too. And one of the downsides of this is once I seal it up, I can't actually tell where I built the thing because I need to put TNT to connect it. Some commenters point out that I could just use a scroll wheel or drag to see these layers. I can't do that because this game lags so hard that none of those shortcuts work for me anymore. There we go. This is where I need the TNT. So I am really curious to see how this turns out. Let's give it a go. Let's see what's going to happen. Well, I see the water rushing into that tunnel. Looks like it's heading down. And what about the surface? Well, it looks like the surface is getting irrigated just fine. Now, I think this will get fully irrigated when the water rises to the top. Because right now this is not really connected to our dam, so it's not getting topped off. Yeah, this is actually incredibly powerful. I got everything except for this little corner irrigated. Wow, so that is a very powerful technique, I think. I'm going to be able to terraform a ton of the map that way. Like, see, I've got just a little bit of dead dirt left there. To counteract that one, I'm going to do the same technique, just kind of plugging into this water source. It's not a lot, so I don't think I need a particularly wide stream of water there. Let's take a look how we're doing back up on top of the mesa. Well, slow progress. I can see they've got most of the dirt over here done. They don't yet have the two-way station done. Maybe they should rush that to make it faster. And it looks like they're just getting it started on this dirt. Given the success of this approach, I'm going to try another version of that just to see how it works. I'm going to make a mini water tower dirt pipe and see how that works. So I'm going to splice off of this line right here. That should let me get dirt over to this section here. And maybe just in the beginning, I'm not going to do connect the final line until everything is ready to go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and run it all the way down here. I'm going to run that under pressure a couple of places. So I think I'm going to take some over here, and this pool right here, you see that indent? I think I'm going to make that a mangrove pond. And I think over here, I'm going to take that same stream and put it under pressure underneath all of this, which would let me turn it green. I'll get crews over working on this side. This is going to be the other end of the kind of that retaining pool. Will eventually be filled with mangroves. I find that mangrove fruit is one of the fruits that we're always running low on. Now, this will get that pipe going that way. I think I can use this pipe also to irrigate all the way up here too. You know, that way I don't have to mess with adding sluice gates or other stuff up here. So I'm just going to seal off that top entirely, and then instead I'll run this pipe kind of in that direction over here. As you can see, all I'm doing is making trenches for what is eventually going to be powering the water and then the dirt. And honestly, I'm probably going overkill here. Like, me having 3 deep isn't necessary. I think I could get away with just 2 deep would give me the same effect. And here's an interesting problem. I've got to get this mesa top. I'd like it green too. And it's nowhere near any water. I bet I could use communicating vessels to get a pipe up to the top of it. So for example, let's say that I want it to get this segment green. I think I could do that just by dynamiting down here, connecting to this run, and then filling it all in again. That work? I'm pretty sure that's going to work. Okay, that is a ton of dynamite. Let me get some crews out here working on this, and then once it's all gone, we can go ahead and try this experiment out and see if it works. Once again, it looks like the main district finished first, so let's go ahead and trigger all that dynamite. And then again, I'm just going to run through each of these areas and put down some platforms. The only tricky part to be mindful of is I need these platforms one lower than the top, and whenever there's a height change between layers, I need to make sure there's at least one gap so that water can flow between them. Now, this part next to the retaining pool for the mangroves, that's going to be a little bit different. Now, I can't just let water go completely out into the pond, otherwise it's going to overflow, because the water at top of the mesa is higher. So I need to put a sluice gate in there so I can regulate the level that's coming out. And this is probably another approach I could take elsewhere too, because I know when water is underneath, its area of effect is going to be lower than it is when it is at the surface layer. So this water in this pond will probably have a farther reach than the water underground in the pipe. Then once all of that's taken care of, I'm just going to again run through everything and put down some dirt. And as for up top of this mesa, we can destroy this too, put down some of those platforms as well. And I think we're actually ready to make the upward pipe here. As you can see, all I'm going to do is box in this entire little corner with dirt. As long as there's just a little gap at the very bottom that then can go straight up, that should be good enough. Then I can just fill the kind of the interior of that vertical pipe with platforms and then seal everything up with dirt again. I'm kind of playing with fire though, because now I've put basically water under pressure everywhere up in this mesa. So if I ever dynamite in there, I have the potential for water to flood. That's looking overall pretty good. It should look a lot better when everything is sealed off. Now we need a lot of dirt in here, so let me check on the dirt supplies that we've got. Unfortunately, our dirt is produced way on the other side of the map. Now luckily we have a lot. I think our limiting factor is just carting it all the way over to the other end. Now I could eventually put tubeways, but that's such a large undertaking, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in this map. I can see that we are getting some dirt here slowly over time. At some point I might put an excavator up on the mesa anyways. And let's see, we've got the TNT finally laid over for this section. I think we can work on the other vertical pipe here. And again, this is just going to need a lot of TNT going straight down the cliff face. Because 1, I need to remove the cliff face, and then 2, I need the space behind the cliff face to actually be the vertical space for the pipe. All that destroyed, we can just add the platforms to make space for the pipe, and then replace the facade with some dirt. And I can see that we're making good progress, but what is really again limiting me is the dirt. And if I had started this game with some of these new features, like the tube stations, I would have built like a tube-way station all the way across this map. Because if I had something all the way back here to Junkertown, I would have easy access to all this dirt supply. You know, part of me is tempted to run something down through here, through this dead river, as an access point over here, just to get quick access to dirt. I'm not sure. By the time I build all of that, we're probably going to be done here. That does bring me to something that I could do. You see, over here, where our power plant is, this is a separate district. I've got like a ton of builders available here. I actually think I should queue up some work for them to do down here too. So for example, you see here, this is my power station, and my power station, you know, it's all filled with bad water, but all this rest could be green as well as this. And if I can get both of this part green, I will have greened probably like this whole chunk of the map. So I think one of the easy ways I could probably do that is I have a pipe, I think with fresh water, that I ran all the way up to here. but I'm not sure if I ever carried it through to the other side. I actually did get the line run. I just stopped populating it with water because I wasn't using it and I didn't want to lose all that to evaporation. So I actually do have this line could be connected to that top pipe. And you see this would run all the way down through here, down through this section. Yeah, I think this is actually primed to go. I think I've got water run all the way up to here. So it could be as easy as me just splicing into this, and after that, I'd have water here. I'm gonna get crews prepped for that, honestly. I think I'm just gonna make kind of an offshoot off the pipe up here, and then I can have kind of a spigot with the sluice gate that can control the flow coming out. And then you can see here that we've got a little bit of a staggered fall to this river. So I think I'll just come back through this and then add some dams up and down. Now, I did notice something new with dirt that I didn't understand before. I can place dirt on solid structures freely, but it won't let me put it on top of impermeable floors. That's kind of an interesting limitation. But I can put, for whatever reason, I can put levees. So if I put a base of levees, then I can put dirt on top of the levees. I'm not sure if that's a bug, because if not, it's kind of an odd quirk. But with that dirt down, I can just put a really quick set of floodgates in there. The other thing I think I'm going to have the Junkertown construction crew do is start to top off our power plant. So you can see I've got this massive power plant here, and it's producing more power than I need. I'm going to try to top this all off with dirt, just to see what it would look like. I'm going to see if I could completely disguise the fact that a power plant exists here. And this will be kind of intensive work, but I can just have them working on it in the background. Let's see, construction here is kind of annoying because I'm not allowed to build on top of these nubs. So I almost need like overhangs on top of each water wheel to make a foundation. So for example, if I put something like that, would that give me, that's one too high because I need to be one lower than everything so I can have room for dirt. So I think that would mean a 2 platform, 5 run all of these across like that. And then on top of that, dirt could exist. And that should bring me nice and flush, at least in theory. You know, what I could do is if I made this one higher, I could potentially flood it with water and turn all of this area green in addition to that. So let me start at least with this. I'm going to run through all of this area, put down these platforms so I can cover it up, and then later I can kind of figure out how I'm going to make it green. It's going to take them forever to build this. In fact, I might not even be done in this video with all the construction they have to do for it. So this will be like a long-term effort for the bots of Junkertown. And after some tedious laying down of platforms, I've got the general shape of the cover here. The only thing I can't quite lay down are the last run right here, because that happens to be at the same height as our kind of art installation overhang scaffolding. Now, unfortunately, that lip right there is a little bit above the surface area. So I will have to figure out something that I'm going to do to get water up there, but I think that's going to do for now. I think the only thing I'm going to queue up while I'm still here, construction-wise, is to fill in this gap. Because if I eventually do put dirt or water or something on here, that's gonna have to be sealed off. And just in case water does end up here, I'm gonna throw dirt on top. Because dirt does transfer irrigation. So if water is in there, that would help spread that water up above. Okay, that is a massive undertaking over here. But at least that keeps this crew busy. Because I want all the crews in all the different areas doing something. And you know, while I'm at it, I think I should also have the crews get over here to add something to the end of this river. That should let me start using this pipe and filling this in pretty soon. I think as long as I can get somebody out there just to put a little set of dams, that should be sufficient. Actually, the crew that should get there is actually over here. That would be a lot easier for them to reach. Just make a temporary road back there to get construction crews in. That's enough messing around with Junkertown. Let's go take a peek to see how the rest of the queue up here is looking. Well, it is progressing. See, a good chunk of the dirt has been done. And I can see here, I kind of screwed the construction order of this dirt up. Because you can see these arrows, they specify the order in which dirt should be built. And that kind of does slow things down. This dirt down here should probably have been reversed. But what else do we have going on? But it looks like most of this is done. I think the retaining pool looks like it's done. Basically, the only ones that are slow is our northern district up here. They don't have as many construction crews. They're kind of dragging their feet. Also, I have them delivering a lot of TNT in like very awkward locations. Given they have so much dirt that still needs to be laid down, I'm gonna cave in and give them an excavator up here. And I just have to be very careful that I don't accidentally put this excavator to puncture one of my pipes, because I've riddled this mesa with so many different tunnels, that is a real possibility. Drill online, that should hopefully help speed this up. Let's see, we've got 5.5 days before the bad tide comes back. So let's see how much of this that we can actually finish up in time. Hopefully it looks like all the TNT has been placed down at least. So we really just have the platforms and the dirt to get in here. And just like before, I'm throwing down a ton of platforms and then I'll seal everything off with dirt. And I'm guessing a lot of this is overkill. I'm thinking I probably could have gotten away with not 3x3 wide rivers everywhere. Given my building capacity, though, up here, we're probably not going to finish this in 5 days. We'll see how far I can get. And, you know, while we're in the bad tide, something else I can set up here is a way to cover up this like, trench. I don't see any reason that it should remain here. And, in fact, that would break all my irrigation line here. So if I look down this line here, I can kind of get a sense of how deep it needs to be. And I think I can get away with covering a lot of this. Look at this line right here, that's already covering it. So anything below that is fair game to cover up. I feel like I could potentially say, for example, cover that with dirt right like that. But, you know, seal all of this off too to get it irrigated and green. Man, having the ability to build dirt on top of things, it just really opens up a whole new set of possibilities here. We've got 4 days left. While we're waiting on this, let's go ahead and check back down on Junkertown and see how they're doing. And, you know, surprisingly, not a whole lot of progress here. I was expecting a lot more. Oh, you know what it is? Back a few episodes ago, when I was trying to call roads for performance, I actually cut off the roads to each of our construction overhangs. So they haven't been doing anything. They haven't been able to get to any of these things I queued up. So I'm glad I caught that early, otherwise we could have lost a few more days. Yeah, you can see them just streaming over here to work now that I've got the roads in. The other thing I can see that they've done is they did lay down some dynamite over here. Now this is the dynamite that's going to connect over to the good water pump, so I can eventually start populating this stream. Think I might have to make a few runs of TNT here. We'll see. I'm not sure how many more floors I need to dynamite down. I think I need to do at least 2 more. And I'll just queue this up. I'll probably prioritize this so that we can get water in the good season coming up. Yes, that looked like the right height. I could see that pipe in there. In this pipe, I have power. And I'll probably run it a little, like continue running it down here, even though I don't need it for anything. But again, if I had known about tubes in the beginning, I totally would have run my tube stations all the way through my pipe system too. So I would have made the pipe too wide, have power and tubes, and then I would have basically a freeway system everywhere I needed it to be. For our purposes for right now, all I'm going to do is take that offshoot from the pipe, take it all the way up to the top here. We can bring up levees all the way up to 1 from the surface, stick down a sluice gate to populate that stream, and then seal the rest off over here with impermeable floors. So I think that should do the trick. That should allow us to get all of this nice and populated. Back over in the north, I can see progress is going, just kind of slow. And I think I'm going to do something to try to speed this up. I'm going to try to cut some of this work in half and divvy out part of it over to our central district, because their build queue is empty right now. So, for example, if I just cut some of this right here and here, I think I could build, you know, a stairwell up. It is a bit of a walk, but I have dirt over here. You know, I think that will help out a little bit to speed this up. And, you know, potentially, actually, I'll keep some of these roads here. As long as these 2 roads don't touch, both of these districts are able to work on the same thing, right? So this building right here is reachable by both the central district and the northern district. I'm just going to leave it as is. We'll see. I think that these beavers will work down here anyways because that was queued up first. But I think that will help some of this. The other thing I'm going to queue up to take care of now is I see as I poke into this bad water diversion system, it's not up high enough to actually worry about this right here, these gates. So I'm just going to go ahead and just seal all of that off with dirt and hide it entirely. And the bad tide comes to an end. Well, we are not as far as I was hoping, but we might actually finish this in the 6 days we've got. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but I occasionally do get hit by autosaves, but at this point autosaves take potentially up to like 20 seconds. So we are really getting to the end of the life of this map, because it's just getting brutal to work with. So I think I'm probably going to green this map, but I'm not sure how many more mega structures I can put in here, because my poor computer is not going to last much longer. And this is really amusing looking. Like you can see, because this is populating with green water, you can see that the water is running through the caves here, because you can see this random set of green lines that are appearing. So that's a sign that the water must be running through all of this down here. And this is a good reason for me having sealed it off from our main dam up here, because all of this would have just rushed out. Well, this is a good sign. It's getting up pretty high. In fact, you can see it's gotten all the way up here. This will probably trigger our pool pretty soon. Yeah, overall, this is pretty good. And, you know, I just realized this right here is a callback from when this used to be our bad water diversion system. I can tear all of this out. Yeah, I can see the tentative effects of everything starting to turn green. I bet if I peek down here, very slowly, I should be able to see that water falling down. Yeah, you can see it falling down here, kind of getting down to this part. It populated up there, and you can see it starting to slowly wrap its way around here where the beavers are working. Now, it is important that I manage to get this topped off with dirt, or eventually it could just overflow down here, because it's gonna try to equalize to the height of the water up here, which is, you know, much higher. Now that I've got dirt coming in though, and I've got this excavator, things are definitely speeding up. As you can see, I'm starting to get a stockpile of dirt, so it's just really limited by builders now. I kind of shifted my bottleneck around. While the wet season is here though, we can go back down to Junkertown, and let's see if we can actually get this creek populated with water. So I can see they finished up the pipe here. Now, I'm pretty sure that the only thing stopping water from running here is I did seal off this gate right here. Actually, no, I have 2 gates. So I have to open up this gate, have it not restricted by height, and I think if I go all the way back up here, I have another gate where I restricted flow. If I open this one, I think that should be enough to get water down there. So also, if I hadn't called this out, but what you're seeing here is the new 3D view that they added in Update 7. You can see it looks a lot different than the other one, because the other one would show the terrain. But now when you slice, you can actually see a much better view of my pipe network as I go up. So you can see at this level, this is all my good water pipe, and if I go down one layer deeper, this is my bad water pipe. So you can see actually there's my water for my power plant. These are the bad water sources. This is the main good water source. And then this one is the bad water diversion system. And this thing here, that's actually the basement of Junkertown with all the trees. It's kind of cool to see it from this perspective. This view is a little bit laggier than the other ones, but you know, it is functional. And looking here, I do see that water slowly working its way through the pipe. Now this pipe is very narrow. If I could go back, one of the things I would probably change is make it wider. I can make this 3 wide, that would help a lot. But if I peek outside, I bet this is starting to turn a lot of this green. Yeah, you can see right here, this little tendrils of green. It probably won't help a lot because of the height difference, but this does open the option. I could hook this pipe up to get water up to these pools in the future. But let's go take a look over here and just wait to see what happens. Oh, there's the water. Also, this is interesting. I never noticed that this had bad water effect down there. I bet when I installed my pipe last episode, it probably just touches barely some dirt on the edge here when it runs through. And that probably kills those plants down there. But anyways, for this pipe, what is it going to do? And there it goes. Given I have such a bottleneck with that 2.2, it will take a while to fill this up. And it's nice to see actually that pipe pay off. I invested in that pipe like, I don't know, maybe 10 episodes ago, and it's never been used. And as that water rushes down to the edge here, we've got a nice new segment green. I think I can always get the beavers to come back here and kind of dynamite some of that out. That would be okay. But for now, it's a nice step to getting more of this green. Let's go check back up on this corner, see how we're doing. Well, I'm starting to see some green spread out from those different channels we've got. And I'm guessing because we only have the one source there, I think it's probably just filling up the channels that we already have here. So we've got kind of a backlog before it can start actually being able to stay up top. I do see that it populated our nice pool here though. This is going very slowly because I only have the one water source here. But at some point, I probably will hook it back up here where you can see I turned it off earlier. And that's going to give access to all of this water up here, which I'm honestly surprised we don't have more water stockpiled. I know we just came off of a very long drought, so that's probably what's doing it. I am eyeing our signs though. If you remember from last episode, I established this new rule that said every time I get to 250k science or an interval of 250k, I'm going to pick a source of water to double it. It's kind of an incentive for me to keep investing in science and still kind of have something to spend science on this late in the game. Given how slow this source is, this may be the one I target. Because with all these new rivers down here, underground rivers, that's definitely going to be useful. Oh, and you can see what I was saying earlier about having two districts work simultaneously. Or you can see over here, these are all the regular beavers from the home district coming in to lend a hand with this construction. Oh, and as I look around, we're actually getting decently close. Though, you see this area, I'm probably going to have to speed run completing this because this is going to be at risk of overflowing pretty soon. These over here have a little bit more time. Everything else is pretty solid at this point. Ooh, this one, I think we're going to manage to flood this, especially, you know, since I'm not building these in parallel. Here, let's do this. If I delete that, I should be able to tell them to build it this way so they can build everything together. That may salvage some of that leaking because we're going to lose a decent amount of water in the meantime. Okay, not as bad as I thought. They finished that up very quickly. Well, other than this little segment here, I think we're good to go. We may actually be able to test this. Especially because we're 4 days in and we haven't been warned about the next drought yet, so that's a good sign. Time left though. Let's do a quick safety check to see how we're doing elsewhere in the colony. Well, I do see water coming down here, which I don't quite want that going down unless it's overflow. So let's cut that out. Looking down here, this is all nice and green. I see water here. Continuing down, well, this one is odd. I was not expecting to see this being flooded. How are these being flooded? I actually see water coming down from inside, too. So where are they getting water? Especially if I look down here, I'm not expecting water to be down here, because something must be leaking. Like, if I have a burst in my pipeline, that's gonna mean that I'm not gonna pressurize the main downtown district. This looks like a prime possibility. There's got to be something here because it looks like it's coming from these machines. It's got to be here because I bet that this connects over to our power line. Yeah, that's it. So look at this. When I built this, it was not an issue. But this drill drilled down so deep that it actually broke into the pipeline right here. I'm not actually sure how best to resolve that. Okay, first thing. I don't want water being wasted, so I'm going to have crews run all the way down here and build a set of dams near the exit to this map. This will just be temporary, but at least stop us from losing some of the water. Now for here, what am I going to do? Well, unfortunately, I don't think I have an alternative other than temporarily at least shutting down this excavator, which is going to be pricey, but at least what I can do for now is I can get in here and I can kind of seal this off. So we'll rush beavers to get that sealed with dirt, which should seal off the pipe. And long term, I think what I'm going to do is just shift the pipe over a little bit over here so I can seal it off. And if it does break into this segment, it should be fine. Fortunately, I do use dirt a lot and that shut off everything. So we're going to have to live off of that supply that we've got right now. All that water pressure from up at the top of the map is now rushing through here. And you can see that build crew swimming down river trying to cap it off before it all goes off the map. Really, what I should be doing is I should be making this second priority, and that one single piece of dirt over at the hole, that should be the highest priority. So if I can get somebody down there, all of this will stop. Yeah, you are the one actually saving the day, not all those other beavers. Yeah, there we go. Immediately stopped, probably plugged the hole. You guys, though you might save some, but he was the real hero. I did eventually resolve getting this dirt excavator working again. So you can see all I've done is I shifted the power intake 1 over. So when it comes in now, it makes a little jog in, and then I have an impermeable floor on it. before it goes up, and then it connects with that kind of excavation pit. And that's enough to keep it secure. So we should have our dirt production back online pretty soon, because we're going to need all of that. Taking a peek at our power plant, I can see that they're making commendable progress in sealing it off. They've almost completed the first half, so that might actually take another season or two to finish. And returning our gaze back upstream, well, this is actually looking quite green at this point. I know it's still letting water out here, which is slowing it down. So it's not building up like a backlog of water, which I think that's why these pockets here and here are not yet green. But given that everything here looks sealed off, I'm going to go back up to our pipe that we sealed off way long ago and start using some of this water from the water tower. So I'm going to open that up. That's just going to let a ton of water in here. As you can see, if I look at this tank, over this wet season, it's already up into the 3rd layer. So there should be a lot of excess supply here. And really, when I think about it, all I've done here is created a convoluted pipe down this aqueduct, which is now covered with dirt, through here, down here, and then up and back up into this mesa. Now, it really does surprise me that this did not end up turning green. You know what it is? I bet the water, even though the water is touching the bottom of the dirt, I bet it doesn't count as being irrigated. So let's actually close this for a second. I wanna run an experiment. Let's say I go in here and I'm going to dynamite one of these sections. So what's one of these sections that doesn't have power? Actually, no, let's dynamite the one in the middle. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna lower a layer of the dirt to like dip into the water to see if that has an impact. So I'm gonna do that there, and I'm gonna do that here. With these 2 sticks of dynamite lit, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and delete the platform underneath, and then I'm gonna come back here and let's see, can I put dirt just sticking into the water? Oh no, I can't. Because of that problem we ran into earlier, where you're not allowed to build dirt on top of impermeable floors. I bet the dirt would stop the water from flooding through, but the second I do delete this impermeable floor, I'm going to drain a bunch of this water out. Let's do it. I'm not connected to the dam. I'm going to probably regret this, but I really want to see the results of this experiment. So the idea is I'm going to stack both of these up like that, and we're going to have to rush those as quickly as the beavers can. Because, yep, that's just going to dump all the water through those pits very quickly. The good news is that there is a lip here going into the aqueduct, so it's not as deep as the water over here. So we're not really going to lose as much as you would expect. It's going to be kind of limited just to the water in the aqueduct. In fact, you can already see it starting to dry up now. Oh, wait, this is interesting. You notice I've been watching beavers to come and build here. There's no beavers here, but the dirt is being filled. I think they're actually building it. Like, look at this. There's nobody here. I think they're building it from within the subway line. So they're entering here and then constructing it. That's very interesting. So 2 interesting things. I think the dirt did act as a way to seal the aqueduct, so I don't see water flowing through there, even though there is water in there. And 2, that idea of using kind of like a dipping into the water, that did let this turn green. And I bet this one will turn green once more water gets there. So let's reopen this dam and we'll see if we can get more. Water comes rushing in, and almost, but not quite. Doesn't quite make it. So just having the one, I think it's because of the height difference too, because the water is going up. It's helped a little bit with the range, but not quite. I'll see. You know, sometimes the game is very forgiving of what it considers irrigated, so I might still be able to get away with planting stuff on there. So, we've got all this pressurized. Let's take a look. Why don't we have water coming up through this tunnel here? Like, did we accidentally close something off here when we connected it all? Yeah, I don't think we actually dynamited that row down deep enough. So we're probably going to have to come back here and, I think, destroy that back again. Oh, that's handy. I didn't realize this. You notice that when I put the TNT up top, it shows a shadow of where they are going to dynamite. So I can kind of see that, yeah, I did place those correctly. So let's see. If I detonate this, is water suddenly going to start flowing up? Yep, that it is. And this is under pressure, so it might come spewing up through the top. So let's get crews there and then hopefully patch that up quickly. And to minimize the damage. Oh. Huh. How is that leaking? I'm surprised to see that, water exploding there. Before that gets worse, I need to figure that out. Seal. I thought this two-way was successfully sealed off. Did I forget to seal that? Let's close this at least, and I'm going to delete this. Let's see. If I seal that off with the two-way, can I put the building on top? No, it doesn't. Well, I can put impermeable floors here on top of it. I guess all I need to do is then, what, can I shift the building? Yeah, the building cannot be on impermeable floors, but I could just shift the building down here. That's really odd. I wonder, can I just put the impermeable floor one layer lower, like that? Will that be enough to stop that leaking? And then the tube station, it can be placed like that. And after a little bit of time to seal off all the open areas, we're left with this, which is pretty green. I think I'm happy with this. You can still see I have a few patches here and there, but I think it's good enough for the effort I've gone through. And compared to what it was at the beginning, this is a lot better. And especially considering you don't see a lot of waterworks there. But it is funny looking underground. You can see I've just got this patchwork quilt of different waterworks everywhere, getting things all green. So 3D dirt is definitely very powerful. A couple things I've learned through this. So first off, underground rivers, they are powerful, but their range is greatly reduced. Right? Because this river is one layer underneath everything else, that subtracts quite a bit from the regular, irrigation distance. Probably the most effective way to do this is something like this. If you had a water go underneath a tunnel and then come back to the surface or breach to the surface and have a pool, that would probably be the most effective way of doing this, I think. It's not as hidden, and you lose a little bit to having a pond, but the irrigation range gained from that pond is a lot better. That said, that is tricky to do in my case, because in my case, I do have that pressurized water tower coming in here. So if I had an open pond, it's just going to spill unless I kind of have something like this with a sluice gate at the end to regulate flow. The other thing that I learned that is really interesting from this experiment is tube-way stations. So one, tube-ways can be built from. Two, tube-ways can exist within water perfectly fine. When the tube exits water, you have to put in impermeable floors. The other thing I thought was interesting was the idea of putting in kind of a bit of dirt dipping into the water, because that's what allowed this to be irrigated. So really, like when I think of over here where we have these irrigated rivers, the only reason these underground rivers actually irrigate anything is because the water underneath is touching the side here. And that's what really got us in this aqueduct, is the sides are levees, and so that water is not counting as touching them, really. And I think that's going to be helpful knowledge as I continue moving on to irrigate more in this map. So all that said, I think we're at a good stopping point for this episode. Next week, I'm really eyeing starting to populate this green space with something. We can figure out how to green all this space on top of our power plant, and we can start eyeing greening the rest of this map over here, which you can see thanks to our overflow already is starting to look a little bit green. As always, I hope you enjoy these episodes, and if you have some additional ideas of what I should be using those tube-ways and dirt for, feel free to leave a comment below.